is now a retelling of the movie Gone Girl. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Maybe we can get to 1,000 subscribers together. Enjoy the movie. Nick, a literature teacher, and Amy Dunn are celebrating their 5th wedding anniversary. Returning home from a morning outing, Nick finds his spouse has disappeared under circumstances similar to a kidnapping. The incident gets a lot of publicity in the press because Amy was the inspiration for the Super Amy books her parents were writing. Next, the story of Nick and Amy's relationship is told in the form of flashbacks from her diary, which describes the period of her life from the time they met in 2005 until her disappearance in 2012. In parallel, events since Amy's disappearance are shown. Detective Rhonda Boney, a member of the police department, takes on the case of the disappearance. The police notice some contradictions in Nick's behavior. He seems aloof, but at the same time tries to be friendly, contributing to the search for Amy. Recollections from Amy's diary show that the couple gradually began to have a relationship crisis after their marriage. Both were out of work after downsizing and moved from New York to Missouri, Nick's home state, where his mother, dying of cancer, and sister Margot lived. Over time, Nick becomes increasingly distant and indifferent to Amy, which leads to arguments. He begins to secretly cheat on Amy by having an affair with his student Andy. Detective Boney finds a number of facts that lead her to suspect Nick's involvement in Amy's disappearance. First, she discovers poorly washed traces of blood in the house where the couple live. Then Boney discovers that the couple had financial problems, $117,000 in credit card debt, purchases that Nick denies, and an increase in her $1.2 million life insurance policy shortly before Amy's disappearance. A witness is also located who confirms that Amy, being scared, tried to buy a gun from him. It turns out that Amy was pregnant, which Nick learns about only from Bonnie's words. For Nick begins difficult times. The police and the press seriously discuss his involvement in the disappearance of his wife. However, during the first examination of the crime scene, Nick and Detective Boney find a certain first clue, where a poem gives a riddle, the solution of which leads them to his office. There Nick finds a woman's panties and a second clue that leads to his father's house. At his father's house, Nick finds a third clue, but hides it from the police, who arrive to a tripped alarm system in which someone has changed the code. Rhonda tries to figure out why Nick went there. Nick doesn't tell the police that the second clue refers to this very place. Searching the house, she finds Amy's half-burnt diary in the basement stove, where the last words were, "My husband could kill me," which makes the detective believe in Nick's guilt even more strongly. At first, Nick doesn't understand what is meant in the third clue, but in time he figures out that his wife is alive and set everything up on purpose. From the financial difficulties, Nick enters Margot's shed mentioned in the third clue, and sees that it contains the very purchases supposedly made on Amy's credit card, to the police finding her diary. It is further revealed that Amy fakes her disappearance, drives her car out of town, changes her appearance, and settles in a cheap motel, where she keeps a close eye on the events surrounding her. Amy's voiceover explains that she has become disillusioned with her marriage to Nicky. Amy found out that her husband was cheating on her with his student and decided to get back at him by creating evidence to suspect Nick of killing her. She developed a friendship with a pregnant neighbor, told her about her difficult life with her husband, and then used her urine to fake a pregnancy. Secretly from Nick, she increased the amount of insurance on her life. At the crime scene, she created bugs to give the impression that the kidnapping was staged. Amy's ultimate goal is to kill herself so that Nick will be charged with murder and sentenced to death. Nick, meanwhile, tells his sister that on the morning of their 5th anniversary with Amy, he wanted to talk to his wife about divorce. Realizing how seriously Amy has set him up, he decides to hire an expensive lawyer, wife murder specialist Tanner Bolt, who recommends that Nick meet and learn more information from 2 of Amy's ex-boyfriends, Tommy O'Hara and Daisy Collings. O'Hara tells Nick that Amy also set him up, with the result that Tommy is now considered a rapist. Collings, whose breakup Amy attributed to his obsession with her, refuses to talk to Nick. Tanner insists that Nick admit to having a mistress and give an interview on TV host Sharon Schieber's program. The lawyer argues that the show's multi-million-dollar audience will sympathize with Nick for his sincerity and remorse. Amy is robbed by her motel neighbors, and she decides to call Daisy. He, having warm feelings for Amy, agrees to take her in. Daisy puts Amy up in a house with all the comforts of home and offers her a fresh start. Andy makes a confession on television, repenting for her affair with a married man. Amy's parents react negatively to this and begin to believe even more that their daughter's disappearance is the work of her husband. Despite this, Nick gives an interview on television where he depicts regret for his actions, denies killing Amy, and asks his wife to return. Nick receives support and understanding from the public. However, Nick and Margot are then detained by the police on an anonymous tip from Amy. She sets things up so that Margot allegedly hid items Nick secretly bought with Amy's credit card in her shed, and he allegedly tried to burn the crime weapon with traces of his wife's blood in the fireplace. Tanner gets his brother and sister out of jail on bail. Meanwhile, Amy, after seeing Sharon Schieber's television program with Nick as a guest, begins to believe her husband, thinking he has reformed. She decides to return and hatches a plan to make her absence logical. Amy fakes rope marks on her wrists and rapes herself with a bottle. Taking advantage of the fact that there are many cameras in Daisy's house, she pretends to be sexually assaulted in front of them. When Daisy returns to the house, Amy seduces him and kills him during sex. After taking his car, she returns home where, in front of reporters, she throws herself into her husband's arms. At the clinic, the police question Amy. She says that Daisy broke in on her, kidnapped her, took her to his lake house and raped her there. Detective Boney finds many inconsistencies in the testimony, but her questions are interrupted by other investigators who believe Amy is telling the truth. Eventually, the police close the case, and Boney realizes that Amy is indeed keeping something important quiet. The couple return to their home. Amy tells Nick that she killed Daisy to get back to him, but he wishes to leave his wife because he doesn't trust her and considers her very dangerous. The media makes Amy America's sweetheart. Everyone admires her heroism. Nick, knowing the truth, is going to deny all this. However, Amy does artificial insemination using Nick's sperm, which he wanted to take to the fertility center, and informs him about it. Amy tells him that the future child will hate him if he leaves. Realizing that he will now have a baby, Nick takes over and stays with Amy. Nick and Amy appear on national television and announce that they are expecting a baby. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also put a like. Also, write in the comments which next movie to do a recap on. Have a great day.